Hello, welcome to Book Talk. At Book Talk, we get to have an author come and tell us about their book. And today we have a great guest with us who is going to tell us about being empowered. He's written several books, of which one is What I Will, I Can. And I'm going to welcome the guest today in the show, and we are going to have a great time. So, without taking one more minute, I'm going to invite to the show Joseph Giampapa. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Anthony. It's a pleasure to be here. I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's an honor to have you here, and
Thank
we
you.
are honored that you took your time to be here and tell us about your book. Now, to get us started, let's know where you're from, what you do, and then we'll get to move into the book later.
Sure. I'm
Yeah.
I'm living currently in Reno, Nevada. In Reno, Nevada. I'm originally from the Chicago area.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
I I started out when I was a young guy as a stand-up comedian in Chicago. And
Ah,
then when I got drafted in the army, I went to Europe and I was entertaining the troops during the Vietnam era.
okay.
And I wanted to finish my degrees, so I came to Reno, Nevada, and went to the University of Nevada, UNR, and I became an educator, a teacher, and I
Mm-hmm.
taught at the high school level and middle school, and yeah, pretty much that. Yeah, I was an educator for quite a few years here in Reno.
Mm. Wonderful. And what's your main thing that you do today? Just writing, or you have many other things
No,
that you,
I'm a self empowerment speaker.
okay.
I I help people kind of bring out the super you within. We have so much potentiality inside of us, and I
Mm-hmm.
help people bring that out to share.
Mm. That's wonderful, and that's why we have you here. We are going to get empowered. Now, you mentioned I like what you're doing, and then you mentioned where you come from because when I was growing up, I was a fan of the Chicago Bulls, Michael
Ah,
Jordan.
yeah, yeah, very
Yeah,
famous.
yeah, very famous, and he is a person known to do great things,
Yes,
achieve great goals in life, and maybe you've got some lessons from where he got them from.
yes. It's very important that we learn to believe in ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And when I worked here in Reno initially, I worked a lot with what they call at-risk kids.
Okay.
Kids that are in trouble a little bit and everything else. And it was amazing because in talking with these kids, so many of them basically gave up on themselves, and they thought of themselves as losers or victims of society, and
Mm-hmm.
nothing could be further from the truth. So it was my job to help them to realize how powerful they really were and
Mm-hmm.
how they can create their life. They change their thinking, they change their life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's good because we've been given, I always say that we've been given everything that we ever need to be whom we ought to be. I mean,
Yes,
as a human being, we have everything on us and a brain, and
e-
that's what we should use.
exactly. You said it right.
Mm.
Zig Ziglar, the famous motivator, said, "It is so sad that so many people go to their graves with their song unsung,
Mm-hmm.
because we have all this potential inside of us, and some people never even realize it or use it. And
Mm-hmm.
that's sad."
Mm-hmm. So, when did you write your first book?
When?
When?
Yeah.
When was that you wrote?
Well,
You started writing, or maybe not even your first book. When did you ever start writing articles and anything that you think someone could be
well,
using?
that's an interesting question, Anthony. I always worked, I had a private practice working with people. I worked with at-risk kids, as I mentioned, and so
Yeah.
on. But in 2009, I lost my son. My
Mm,
son passed away. And that
sorry.
was very hard for me because we were kind of like best friends. He was
Mm-hmm.
35 years old and we were very good friends and everything. and it really kind of shook me up. We have a lot of mountains and hills around here. Every day I would walk the hills and everything, trying to figure out why, what's going on, what's the purpose. And I must have walked the hills for about a year and a half every day, maybe 10 miles, 12 miles, whatever. And things started to come to me, different ideas and things. And then I realized this isn't the time to give up.
Mm,
We wake up and we're breathing, we still have things to do. So I figure each of us has so much to share. And that's when I start realizing, as I was walking, I'd take notes and jot down different things that came to me. And after about a year, I had a big stack of all kinds of notes and things. And I kind of compiled it, put it together, and created my first book
mm-hmm.
called What I Will, I Can.
Mm. That's wonderful. And that's what we are going to be discussing today. What I will, I can. And why did you choose that title, if I may ask? What I will, I can.
Well, it's very interesting because the high school I went to
Mm-hmm.
in a very rough part of town, I went to school in Cicero, which is Al Capone's town. It's near the south side of Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that was the school slogan. What I will, I can, and
Mm-hmm.
that was the slogan for the school. And basically, we were taught to change our thinking, change our life. The way
Mm-hmm.
you think and everything kind of sets your destiny, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
So
Oh, yeah. And it's good that you picked that. And I come to think of the idea that we all come from different places in life and around the planet. And we get to encounter all kinds of things. I mean, the environment we grow up in and the people we meet, we get some wins in life, we get some losses. And along the way, we pick what we want, and some of us pick the negative things, some of us pick the positive things. I'm glad that you took something that you see in a school and made it into a book, a motto you saw in a school and made it into a book, which is going to be very helpful to many people. Thank you.
well, you're
Mm-hmm.
welcome. I appreciate that, because it's so sad, especially now with the political scene, and things happening in the world with COVID and everything else. So many people have a tendency to think of themselves as just a victim of the
Yeah.
world, a victim of society. And nothing could be further from the truth.
Mm-hmm.
Nelson Mandela, in his inaugural speech, he said, our greatest fear is not that we're inadequate, but that we're more powerful than we can ever imagine.
Oh,
And
yeah.
that's the truth. So it's my job, if you will, my mission in life, to help people realize how powerful they really are, and that
Mm-hmm.
they can do anything that they choose to do. It all
Mm.
comes from within.
Mm,
And so
sure,
that,
sure.
you know,
It all comes from within, and it's a choice that you make. So
exactly.
can we have a glimpse of what is inside the book, if you will?
Sure. I start out basically by trying to let the reader know that each of us is totally unique. There are no two people on the face of the earth exactly alike. And when you
Mm-hmm.
think about that, that's really kind of phenomenal. There never has been another person like you, and there never ever will be again. You
Sure.
are, with all the billions of people on this planet, you are totally 100% unique. And
Mm-hmm.
I want people to realize their uniqueness. And the
Mm-hmm.
key is for each person to realize that they're a gift to this planet, because
Mm-hmm.
they bring their uniqueness to share with the world. And that's so important. When they're gone, so is their uniqueness. It'll never come again.
Mm-hmm.
And so initially I try to let people realize their power, if you will,
Yeah.
because of their uniqueness. We each have unique skills or traits or whatever, and we'll never know we even have them unless we start to tap into them and
Mm-hmm.
start to bring them out.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's pretty much what I talk about initially in my book, to get people to realize they have power.
Yeah.
They can they change their thinking, they change their life.
Mm. Yeah,
And then
sure.
Then I
Mhm.
talk about focus because that's so important. As you think, so you create.
Yeah.
Your thoughts create your future.
Mhm.
And so many people, as you mentioned earlier, tend to be negative. They
Mhm.
go through a negative experience and then they shift their entire attitude into a negative mode, which is
Mhm.
so sad because like attracts like. When you're
Sure.
thinking negative and everything, you're generating negative, you're attracting more negative stuff. So it's
Mhm.
important that you think positive and that you have a positive attitude because then you tend to attract new opportunities and things like that.
I like that, and it's very well put. I
Thank you.
have a question on when you talk, and your book talks about being unique. How do you put it, or rather, let the person, the reader of the book, understand that his uniqueness is a positive thing in this aspect? Because I meet a lot of people who are short and they are not happy about their shortness. We have some people who are plump and they are very sad about it. They are grumpy. And I meet people of my color, and especially I've heard so many stories in the US that consider themselves the lesser people. And how do you let the person who appreciates that uniqueness, although it's being not welcome in so many other people?
Good question, Anthony. For me, I see every negative thing also has a positive aspect to it if you really look. Like I tend to be very short. When I was a kid, I was a very short little kid. And I used to be worried about that a little bit until I went to high school. And like I said, I was in Cicero, which is a very tough town, and there were a lot of gangs and tough kids and everything. And one time, a guy grabbed me and he started to make fun of me because I was so short. And I told him, I said, you're only tall because I'm short. I said, if I was the same height as you wouldn't be tall. So I said, you need me in order to be tall. So if it wasn't for short people, there'd be no tall people because everything is relative. So I said, you need me to be short in order for you to be tall. And he thought about it and he said, that makes sense. Yeah. So in other words, I think anything negative, if you really look at it and analyze it, you could turn it in a way to a positive attribute.
I mean, you mentioned so much about that's the chapter in your book. It's a chapter in your book talking about thinking. How
Excuse me, Anthony. You're breaking up, Anthony. I can't hear you. You're breaking up a little bit.
let's
No, no, it's choppy. It's breaking up. I can hear you a little better. Yes.
okay, so it improves. Sometimes technology is an issue. Uh, but we keep going.
I hear you, but it's low volume.
Okay, keep talking. Refresh. Keep.
Okay. I assume you can hear me. Is that correct? Yes. Yeah. I can see you. You're a little bit blurry and your volume was a little bit low. Now your picture is frozen and I evidently lost contact with you. I just have a frozen picture of you. Can you hear me? I have no audio and a frozen picture. Okay.
Yeah.
I can see you now and I can hear you.
Okay, I thought you were going on as I as I was absent, trying to see it improves. So anyway, let's keep going. I was talking
Okay.
about the things that happen, the negative things that happen. I just went off air, and that's a negative thing. We have some political.
Exactly. But they say there's a reason for everything. So that must have been maybe a chance for the listener to go get a drink of water or something.
Oh yeah, let's believe that. So there is always that negative thing happening. We have the political issues, the right, left, and center. Every country that we think of, we have the pandemic that we've just been experiencing. And how now, based on your chapter 7 of the book, how would someone, or how do you encourage someone to keep thinking positive, or what's the idea? What idea do you give of maintaining that positive attitude?
Well, for me, as I mentioned earlier, as we think, so we create, because thoughts are actual energy and
Mm-hmm.
we attract what we think about. So if we start thinking negative, just like the negative stuff around us, we will bring more negativity to us. So by virtue of changing our thoughts into a positive mode, we can find and start to bring in some positive things. You have to be able to look for them, though. You can't walk around with blinders on and just focus on the negative. You
Yeah.
have to be open and receptive to seeing opportunities and good things in life. It's important. Before I used to have a list. Before I go to bed, I would write 30 things that were positive in my day that I just finished.
Mm-hmm.
So each night I would write 30 things, and I would really have to stretch my imagination. There's the basic things. Well, I woke up and I'm breathing,
Mm-hmm.
basics. But every little thing, like maybe the girl at the store smiled at me and told me that I looked nice, I had a
Mm-hmm.
nice shirt or whatever. So all those little things help to create a positive attitude if you
Yeah.
focus on the positive instead of the negative.
Mm. Yeah, thank you for that. And I go thinking positive. I look at the great things happening, and maybe I try as much as possible to avoid the negative things happening around me. And then I meet with people who are thinking negative, and we fall into a misunderstanding, and that's another chapter in your book, misunderstandings. How do we go about that? I mean, or is it
Well,
not based on what I've.
it's interesting, Anthony, because for millennium, people have talked about the golden rule, which is do unto others as you would like, do unto others as you would like them to do to you, that type of
Yeah.
thing.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I think that has caused more trouble and more breakdowns in communication than anything we can do in communication, because I
Mm-hmm.
think it was misinterpreted. It doesn't mean do unto others as you would have them do to you. It means you should do unto others the way they want to be done unto. That's different.
Mm-hmm.
Because, for example, let's say Christmas time, you want to buy a present for your friend. So
Yeah.
you love a particular thing, okay? A particular item or something. So you say, oh, I love this. This is great. I'm going to get this for him. And so you buy it and you give it to the person, and they're not that thrilled. They go, oh, thank you very much and everything. And then you get mad because you spend so much time and money getting him that perfect gift and he wasn't that happy. It's
Mm-hmm.
because he doesn't maybe like that particular thing.
Yeah.
And so then that's what causes the problem, because we gave him what we liked, not what he liked.
Uh-huh.
So do you see? That's where the breakdown comes in. We need to start treating people the way they want to be treated, not the way we would like to be treated.
Oh, and
Does that make any sense?
that makes sense. But I'm trying to think um how I get to know every person, what every person wants to be treated. I mean,
You lost me. Say that again.
yes. To understand how every person wants to be treated.
Oh, how every person wants to be treated. Yeah, well, obviously it comes from knowing the person and getting to know their personality a little bit and everything else. We all communicate differently and stuff, and too often we don't listen when the other person's talking.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, I used to teach communication, and
Yeah.
unfortunately, when two people talk, there sometimes some people, rather than listening to the other person, they're already thinking about what they're going to say next.
Mm-hmm.
And so they don't even listen to what the person said. I think listening is a very key part of communicating.
Okay.
And I think we lose a lot of that nowadays. People don't really listen, they're already thinking about what they're going to say next.
Mm. So, for those of you who may be joining us right now, we are with Joseph Giampapa and discussing the book "What I Will, I Can," and it's great, 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 giving us some great insights into living positively in these not so promising world. Is that how you view the world, or you just view the world as a very beautiful place because we are thinking positive? Or do you see the things happening yourself specifically? Do you see the wars? Do you see the pandemic? Do you see how do you, yes, do you see them?
Well, obviously, I don't have my head in the sand. I acknowledge everything that's going on in the world,
Mm-hmm.
but my focus is on how can I make things better? How
Mm.
can we make things better? We
Mm-hmm.
don't have to stay or live with the status quo. We
Yeah.
can all help each other. And the very fact that each of us is unique, we each have certain gifts or skills or talents which could help the multitudes if
Mm-hmm.
we choose to be ourselves. Unfortunately, so many people try to be like somebody else,
Mm-hmm.
and we don't need carbon copies of other people.
Yeah.
We need people to be authentic, but I think so many people are afraid of being authentic and
Mm-hmm.
being themselves because they think they won't be liked or nobody will care for them or something else. We see somebody who maybe gets a lot of love and adulation and stuff from other people, so we say, wow, I want to be like him. So then
Mm-hmm.
we try to be like somebody else, and that's so sad because we're wasting all of our goodness. We need to share who we are and what we are all about,
Mm.
because that's what benefits the world, our uniqueness.
Mm. That's good. Very well put, Joseph, and we
Thank
appreciate
you.
you sharing all that. And your book also mentions about never giving up. I mean, there are so many things that we try to do and they don't work out the way we want. I mean, we start a business, it fails. We uh, want to do a project, but we don't have the resources. And we want to see ourselves succeed, but it's not as easy as it may sound. So, how does this chapter address this issue?
Well, Anthony, this is very interesting because negativity or quote unquote failures or bad experiences happen to everybody. It's a
Mm-hmm.
part of life. I
Mm-hmm.
could tell you a story about a man who went in the army as a lieutenant, and he came out a private. and
Oh.
he came out a private. He opened three businesses and he went bankrupt with all three businesses.
Mm.
Okay. He tried to run for local politics twice, and both times he lost terribly.
Mm-hmm.
Then he decides to run for president, and he makes it. Abraham Lincoln. Yeah.
Mm.
If
Mm-hmm.
if you if you try to check Abraham Lincoln's life up until he became president, he was a real loser. I mean, if
Yeah.
he would have quit at any time, he would have said, "My life really is terrible. It sucks. I'm not going to do it." But he kept going, and
Mm-hmm.
he finally arrived at what he was meant to do, which is wonderful.
Oh, that. Yeah.
Another example. I told
Mm-hmm.
you I was from Chicago. In
Yes.
Chicago, there was a jockey, a horse racer, a jockey who he always wanted to be a jockey. He lost his first 45 races,
Yeah.
45 races that he was a jockey. He lost.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now you have to think what is going through this man's mind when he gets on the horse the 46th time. Well, imagine who would give him a horse. Have you ever
Mm-hmm.
won? Well, no, I haven't. I mean, but he knew inside he had what it takes to
Yeah.
be a good jockey. So he
Mm-hmm.
kept going. And on the 46th race, he won. And then he kept winning. And he turned out to be the world's biggest purse winner in the history of jockeys. He won more races than anybody else. So he never gave up.
Mm.
And that's the important part. We're all gonna fall on our face, but the key is to get back up and to keep going and to have that focus. The focus is important.
Yeah.
Yes.
Someone need to be focused.
Hmm.
Even when things are not going right, you just have to keep on going and never giving up. And I imagine, I mean, as the examples have been given to us, you're in a race twice, thrice, you started something that isn't working and you try again and again and again and you keep going and you keep going and you never give up. Ah, you, that's
Yeah.
the secret of, yeah, that's the
Well,
secret.
the
Mm-hmm.
only the only time you fail is when you quit.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you keep going, you have to hit a success. Otherwise, it would defy the law of average. I tell people if you take a coin, heads and tails, you throw it up in the air and catch it and look at it, and it comes up heads. Wow, that's good. So you throw it up again, catch it, comes up heads again. That's twice. Now you take the coin, you throw it up again, catch it. Wow, it's heads again. So that's three times it came up heads. Okay. Now, what are the odds if you take it and throw it up again of it coming up heads again? It's still 50-50,
50
but it's
50.
but you absolutely know sooner or later tails is going to come up.
Mm-hmm.
If you keep throwing, right? That's how it is with us. If we keep trying and we fail, we keep trying and we fail. If you keep going, you have to hit success. Otherwise, it would defy the law of average and the law of the
Mm.
universe.
The law of the universe, the law of the average. And for someone who haven't heard of that law of the average, how does, I mean, how do you explain it to someone who is I mean, is hearing it for the first time?
Well, they have to understand, as I said, the only time you fail is when you quit, because then
Mm-hmm.
you cannot have a success. You just have to keep going and know that things are going to change. Okay.
Yeah.
And yeah, I have a message here. It says, thank you for the positive message about Abraham Lincoln. Oh, well, that's good. I appreciate that. Yeah, Abraham Lincoln, I think, is a great example of he never gave up. He believed he had something to share with the people.
Yeah, this is coming. The comment is coming from one John Kafue. Says, even with all the negativity from the father, Abraham Lincoln became a president. Thanks, Joseph, for the reminder. It's about positivity.
Well,
Thank you very
you,
much.
you're certainly welcome, because I think we all need to keep that in mind when things start going badly for us. We have
Mm-hmm.
to remember all great people have had many setbacks before they became great people.
Yeah, yeah, it doesn't work the first time. And talking of not working the first time, but things have changed these days, is not as they used to be. And we are talking with to someone who's there, who's interested in writing a book. How was it? How did you manage to write and publish yours? Did you
Well,
go
as I
traditional way or did you just publish it on your own?
well, yes, I first of all, as I mentioned, I had a bunch of notes that I compiled over the years, and
Okay.
I start putting them in some kind of order,
Mm-hmm.
and then I came up with a rough draft,
Yeah.
and then when I created my rough draft, I had somebody, in this case, my daughter. My daughter worked a lot with helping people with books. So
Mm-hmm.
she was my proofreader. She read through the book, corrected different things and everything else. Then we searched for a publisher, and we contacted the publisher, and I explained what I was doing with my book and everything, and they published my book for me. Okay. The other
Mm-hmm.
two books I did publish through Amazon,
Okay.
self-published through Amazon. And again, my daughter helped me structurally and format, with the format and things like that. So
Mm. Talking
yeah.
about your daughter helping you, and talking about a person who says, "What I will, I can," and talking about a chapter in your book, which is chapter 15 of relationships. Tell us what it is with the relationships that you write in your book.
Oh wow, that's a that's a whole big thing in relationships. Relationships. I used to do relationship workshops because it's a very important thing. The key to a good relationship is keeping communication open.
Mm-hmm.
Communication is very, very important in a relationship. And also, we have to remember a relationship is a living thing. Like
Mm.
all living things, it has to be nurtured.
Yeah.
A plant needs water and sun, and it has to be nurtured. Same thing
Mm-hmm.
in a relationship. You have to communicate with each other, talk about things. If something bothers you, you have to bring it up and talk about it and things. You can't just ignore the other person or things that are going on and then expect the relationship to grow by itself.
Mm-hmm.
You have to work at it. A relationship is a living thing,
Mm.
and it needs nurturing.
Oh, beautiful. So relationships need nurturing and in order to grow. And we are almost coming to the end of this show, this episode today. We thank you, Joseph Giampapa, for taking
Uh,
your time and being with us. Yeah.
my pleasure, Anthony. If I could mention, if people are interested in my book or any of my ideas and things, they can go to whatIwillican.com.
Yeah,
What
that's
I
where
will
we
I
were
can.
going. That's where I was going. I was going to ask you where they can get your book.
Yeah, they can get it whatIwillican.com.
Okay, well, ican.com.
Yes,
What I will, I can. I'm just going to share it actually. ican.com. And that's 1 minute. I'm going to share it right here for someone who's looking, and I'm going to tag it in the video after we are through in the episode. So
excellent. Thank you.
those who would want to get the book or even connect with God, to whatIwillican.com. That's www.whatIwillican.com. And
Yes.
yes, so thank you very much. And before we go, we would like to hear from you a few words, as always happens at Book Talk, a few words that we will always remember. And this is your time.
We should remember that we are a gift to this world. Each of us is a gift to this planet. And that's what we should remember. We should share
Remember,
ourselves with the world.
yes, you are a gift to this world. Share yourself to the world, and let's make this world a positive world. No matter
Yes.
what is happening around, remember that. And go and get Joseph's book, What I Will, I Can, and read it.
Thank
So,
you.
yeah, once again, thank you very much, Joseph, and thank you everyone who's heard us, who's watched us, and those who get to listen to this episode after we are through. We thank you for taking your time, and may you have a great time. This has been your host, Antonore, and together with Joseph, and we are saying bye for now.
Bye. Thank you. Bye
Bye bye.
bye.
Yeah.